And now the floor is open for any question to all our four speakers. You can raise your hand, ask directly, or write your question in the chat room. Until we get question, I have question to Rauda about Rakuda activities. It really looks very active and a lot of activities in Alexandria and some other cities, mainly in Cairo. How do you manage support for your activities, Rauda?
So far, we didn't get any funding except from the Ministry of Youth and Sports for the Harafi project or the handicrafts project. But we work with the zero fund system. It means that when we need to share any event or activity, we make small fees to cover the specific needs we need to have or to cover. And sometimes the in-kind support, such as when we work on the World Heritage simulation project with the Biblioteca Alexandrina. So Biblioteca Alexandrina helped us to cover the needs for the publication, for the trainings, for the halls. So far we're working with this system, the in-kind supporting or the zero fund supporting. But the idea of having a big fund, we didn't achieve it yet, except from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. And this is one of the problems we face in Alexandria, not just in Rakuda. Of course, Rakuda is the only heritage NGO registered in Alexandria, but even the big institutions who can give funds, they are only looking for Cairo situation, Luxor, Aswan, but what about Alexandria or the other governments in Egypt? Of course, they don't even know the value of those cities.
In fact, I'm offering you some kind of in-kind support from Nariaj. We can host some of your activities either here in Helwan, headquarters, Cairo, or other branches that we have in Burj Al Arab, Matruh, Fayoum, Aswan, Kharga, Hurghada, or Marsa Alam. You are welcome to join us.
It would be a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other question or comments?
Yes, if you allow me, Dr. Gad. I try to stay late, not to dominate the questions. Now, because I've been talking continuously for 2 days. But just a couple of questions, one to Professor Galal Ebada and one to Ms. Rauda, which is two interesting presentations. I know, of course, Dr. Abbas and Dr. El Gabri's work, and we know it inside out, so I won't ask questions because I'm not scientist as well. I don't want to look stupid.
No, feel free.
We have our own meetings, Dr. Abbas. But thanks, very interesting presentations across the board. Professor Galal, I think one of the important things about policy making, decision makers, you have been part of this kind of two processes and looked at them from different perspectives, from Al-Madina's examples about really making decisions or strategic vision about humanizing the city, and from Cairo, which is dominated by lots of communities with lots of demands, and still UNESCO is more of a deciding factor in preservation of historic Cairo. So how do you think the policy making in both contexts were a bit similar or different, and what are the gaps that you have encountered, and you think it might be a way forward to reverse some of the shortcomings?
Thank you, Professor Gamal, for this very difficult question. Actually, I was going to ask you something which might be relevant in a way or another. So first of all, we are talking about two different contexts, two different planning systems, two different decision-making process, and two different perception of heritage. Appreciation of heritage in Medina is quite different from appreciation of heritage in Cairo. I'm talking about professionals and side by side with the decision makers and with the inhabitants. context is different, is really quite difficult. In Cairo, most of the areas in the historical area, in the historical Cairo region, let's say, are poor, are really quite illustrative examples, urban poor, in the sense of that lack of infrastructure, decaying of buildings, a lot, thousands maybe of vacant buildings that is remaining, or demolished buildings, lack of basic services, of course, in sufficient, let's say, accessibility to the areas. All of these are really makes a quite difficult urban conditions, in a sense that the preservation and continuation of heritage and its rules for the present and future makes it really quite difficult. The decision-making process is very central, is very, very central. Even, you know about the overlapping of authorities in historic Cairo, for instance, and this makes it very complicated, another issue. And to resolve that, not to have everything under one umbrella and to coordinate, rather is to take a central decision, even by the Prime Minister himself. This makes it also complicated as far as decision is not coming from within, but it comes from above. And it comes from above will not have history taught us that this will not last long. It will last until the opening of a specific project like Al-Hakim, or to the north, or to Maghr al-Ayun to the south, and then everything flashy gone. This is exactly like Al-Mu'izz revitalization projects that have been done, and there's no really serious impact of that. Most of the impact is negative in a way or another. Anyway, in Medina it's quite different. In Medina it has had political support, and the process was participatory in a way or another. Of course, sometimes decision has to be taken by professionals as far as many technical aspects within it. But anyway, there are many exchange of ideas with the local residents, local inhabitants. For instance, closing a major road in the city, like Guba Road, which used for centers to be heavily traffic actually, and converting it into a pedestrianized environment where people has no access to use their private cars to go to shops or to go to houses. This is an essential change in the culture of people of using the places, historical places. It was very, very challenging and very hard to convince people. And after many discussions and ideas, they come to a conclusion, and we could compromise the things that part of the street is pedestrianized to conserve everything and to reinvent it as, again, as a very rich historical area, rich of heritage and so on. So actually, learning from both, this was my point, and this also was my question to you, if this is a proper time to ask you, is that learning from different lessons, particularly in the Arab cities, because conditions are similar. Conditions are similar in the origin, in the development, and also in the present challenges. I noticed that the conference, a very valuable presentation, very significant, Tunisia, Iraq, Nottingham, and other places, and previously also you presented wonderful thing, but I found a sort of a splitting the network, the engaged network, into region. So the sessions are divided into regions. A session on Cairo, a session on Tunis, a session in Iraq. I think this is might be not very useful in exchange of ideas. We need to work on common issues and common solutions and how to benefit from each other. So it's more thematic than regional. If you, of course, you have valuable reasons behind splitting the session into that. But anyway, if you can think about having this kind of common lessons to be learned from all the cities. Tunisia has a lot of things. Tunis, the old city of Tunis, has a lot to talk to the Arab world. Also other contexts, maybe Iraq needs also a specific lessons in Mosul, you know, about the dilemma of the reconstruction of the Nouri mosque in Mosul and so on. So thank you for the question. I hope that I could give some answers. I know it's difficult to be answered in full.
Well, thanks, Professor Galal, and this is a really helpful answer. I'll respond to your point. but at a later point about the organization, because it has some structured organizational planning behind it. The second question, Dr. Regad, if there are other questions, please let them come first.
Of course, you can do it. There is no question in chat room.
All right. So the next question is for Rauda. Rauda, very impressive work. We follow your work for some time, and especially as you highlighted, it's NGO, it's just self-funded, in a context that's really hard to really keep going. And you, as you have presented your work, we know that your work got impressive, but even were astonished by the new initiatives that keeps coming. And as Dr. Gad highlighted, how you can support that with kind of seed funding and seed support is quite challenging. But just my question to you, have you worked with some local authorities, how kind of the social enterprises in Alexandria operate in a way that you can integrate and work with them? Because Alexandria is becoming really rising topics in the cultural heritage in Egypt for a few years now. And there's a lot of talks about multiculturalism, multi-layered history. Lots of reading, lots of documentaries are emerging about Alexandria and the Roman and the Pharaoh areas. So is there any attention to the work of NGOs, apart from the funding at least, in cooperation, support, something like that, or not?
You were asking about if we previously worked with another public authorities or...
Yes, if you have worked with them, if you have engaged with them, how's their perception and engagement?
Yeah, of course. As I mentioned in the presentation, that we worked with the Ministry of Antiquities and Tourism, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Alexandria University, Alexandria Government. This for the public authority. For the NGO, we work with the COALEX, with the Egypt Exploration Society in Cairo, the Alexandria Society in Alexandria, in Cairo, Beit Yakan, YKND initiative, and recently we worked with the Router Act initiatives. Of course, you know the system of Router Act and Interact, depending on the age. So Router Act is related to the youth. So yes, I think most of our projects implement the idea of reaching out and to collaborate with the other NGOs, even they are not working on heritage or archaeology. For instance, that we collaborate with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. They are far from the heritage work, but now they have great interest in how to integrate with the heritage to achieve more productivity with the heritage products, with the heritage ideas. So reaching out, it's the most goals we are working and try to achieve always. Yes. But the international organization, I think that's just the UNESCO, the Cairo, the Office of the UNITWIN, which is related to the underwater culture and heritage, and the Egypt Exploration Society as the English society, but not more international NGOs.
Yes, I think as you have heard earlier this morning from Tunisia, that lots of NGOs in the Medina of Tunis who are working on a similar model and has been successful in transforming the old city. And we just commend the model that you are adapting, and we hope that continue to grow and become a pioneer in that field. Thanks a lot for your question, for your answers. Really informative. Back to you, Dr. Gad.
Still, we have a few times for question or comment. Dr. Manal, unmute you, Manal.
No.
Okay.
Thank you so much for letting me unmute. Thank you so much for the great presentations from all the presenters. It was really nice, exchange and conversation together. Maybe my question goes to Radwa or
Rauda.
Rauda, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for correction. Rauda, did you scan in Alexandria the old villas, like the very older than 100 years? Because I personally know some people who occupy some of these villas, which is like really a palace, and they are very rich from architectural value. And unfortunately, because it doesn't have value, like financial value, most of people want to sell it in order to build like high-rise buildings above this piece of land, because they can make much money from this. And unfortunately also, like our governments, they don't recognize such values. And I'm asking myself, if your organization, for example, went for such topic to scan and document the very nice villas and palace everywhere in Alexandria? Thank you so much.
When we start working with the exhibition of Iskandaruna, the idea of this exhibition, it's an annual exhibition that in each year we use a specific theme to cover a heritage point, and we wanted to document it. One of them was the architecture heritage in Alexandria in 2019, and some of the participants, they scanned some of the demolished villas, like Agion villa, and they make a reconstruction model, 3D modeling, and they show those models to the public through the exhibition gallery. But the CODA team themselves, they didn't work on scanning or documenting those villas, but we collaborate with the initiatives or the individuals who are working on documenting and scanning the heritage architecture in Alexandria. Like Sigma Property, like I think Muhammad Omar, who made the model of Agion model. But now we in the project of documenting and registering Alexandria heritage is related to the intangible heritage for trying to register those points in the creative heritage list of the UNESCO, creative cities of the UNESCO, and the intangible heritage list to achieve the goals of sustainable development of 2030, and how to integrate those goals with safeguarding and conserving the heritage of Alexandria. The problem of the heritage architecture in Alexandria that you can demolish this legally because of Mahbub.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have a law allow people to demolish and to build another new building. This became from Mahbub when he was the governor of Alexandria, when he needed to make a renovation of Alexandria city. So he tried to use this legal law. So you cannot stop demolishing the valuable architecture in Alexandria, and I don't know why so far we face this problem, but I think that's related to the lack of awareness because the stakeholders, the responsible people in Ministry of Antiquities, Ministry, even the presidents and themselves, they don't know the value of this, so they don't know how to solve those problems. So yes, we try to document, try to make a kind of public show to raise the awareness of those architecture, but we cannot do something else.
Yeah, I know it's not expected that you do everything, but in case I would like to keep in touch with you, because maybe I can give you some contacts of owners of different really very nice villas. Really, it's not like it's asr, it's not normal villas, and unfortunately they are about to demolish it. So I hope they will not. I'm trying also, but people need also money. Like it's so difficult because there is no value from the other side, from government and so on. In case I can give you some contacts. Yeah, thank you so much.
By the way, before the revolution, there was an amazing initiative. It's called Save Alexandria. They were making a kind of I don't know how to explain it, but they try to have a signage to stop demolishing specific villas and heritage architecture, but because of the unsafe situation in Egypt after the revolution, so this initiative had been stopped its work, but they could stop demolishing one of the villa. It was Shikurel Villa. It was one of the Jewish investors in Alexandria, but in 2014 they could demolish the villa. So that's why I'm speaking about that. The law is against what we are trying to do, to save and to conserve the heritage.
I think we are on time now to the end of our session. If there is no any more question or comment, I would like to thank all our speakers for their effort and very interesting presentations. For the all audience and those who keep all the time following us and watching us. And now the mic back to you, Dr. Gamal, to conclude the day and give more orientation. Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Gad, and thanks to everyone in the Engage Egypt Hub for the fantastic organization, and also acknowledging the short notice through which some of the arrangements have taken place. Really special effort, and really appreciate the NARIAGs always behind such initiatives and global outreach. One thing just to highlight that today is the conclusion of the second day. Still have tomorrow half a day from India, where we'll be heading east for India, and we'll be starting the same time, and appreciate our Indian partners that will be starting a bit late to maintain the same working pattern for the conference. Toward the end will be a session with each regional hub coordinator and myself, where we'll be reporting and concluding the conference and reflecting on the past year of work in general and providing a roadmap for the future. And I think this perhaps where the response to Professor Galal Abada's question about really the separation between the conference. But if I will give a brief, because I'm not sure if you will be available tomorrow or others will be available tomorrow or not, just to give a brief that Heritage Borders of Engagement Network Engage was planned for initially for 5 years as a program. And the first year is always about really developing a research program and research agenda, which we have now we are concluding now. And during that period is about really establishing each regional hub, having coordination, network of researchers, and gathering evidence, as I mentioned in my introductory talks yesterday morning. And so far, each regional hub have provided fantastic work, networking, coordination, bringing partners, academics, NGOs, policymakers, and providing a fantastic range of case studies, policy, and reviews. This is the work of the first year, and it was maintained on a regional by region basis, but all of the events and talks, as we have here today, bring countries from around, not from the same country, but actually for talks from other places. And I remember our workshop in India that took place in October. It had also Maya Ibrashi from Egypt, who talked about her work in Egypt, and another from Pakistan and other countries. So we had speakers from the UK, and in Iraq, also we brought people from the US, from Europe, and from other places. So we try to engage this interactivity between different regions. Yet the regional hubs during the first year is about really gathering evidence. And I think we have been really effective in that, and thanks to the regional partners and their researchers and teams. Tomorrow we'll reflect on that. We'll report back on how this year unfolded, and we will introduce all partners and speakers about what will happen next. because the next series is about more exchanging of that information and knowledge together and developing a series of publications and actually action on the ground. So far, it has been really wonderful 2 days. Still, I think it will be capped off by an incredible range of case studies that's unique in India region. And we will hear also from partners and researchers from Iran that rarely we have heard of. And I think this is really show us the diversity of the network so far. Thanks, Professor Gad El-Adi. Thanks for all the speakers from Egypt, and the panels have been really fantastic. And thank you ever so much. And we'll see you tomorrow morning, starting 9 o'clock. Also, we'll be posting the same link and the program and on the website. All this broadcast was live on Facebook. You can visit anytime. And we have a recording which will be shared on the website, project website later. Thanks ever
so
much, everyone. Have a lovely evening and restful night until tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.